Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours, where we answer your questions 7 days a week. Cindy's our reader today. Cindy, what's up first?
Today's first question is from Scott Wasserman in Detroit, Michigan. I am giving a presentation to a group on a Zoom meeting tomorrow, and I'm not the host. I'm used to my 1080p account. What should I know? Suggested settings for host to maximize quality for video and screen sharing for a normal pro account.
Hey, Guy.
Yeah, for normal accounts, I mean, in the real world, a lot of people just use regular screen share that's built into Zoom. So it depends on the meeting. And if you're on a Mac, just make sure that you test this out first, because I can't count the amount of times that somebody went to screen share and because they didn't make the permissions something that they accepted before they went into the meeting, they had to leave the meeting and come back in. The other thing that if it is a 360p meeting, which I haven't done this in so long, I don't even remember what a 360p meeting looks like. But if it happens, you can use a Zoom room or a Zoom appliance to boost the level. But again, if you're worried about those kind of pixel things, I would just do the normal screen share. And then the other thing is, if you are going to screen share, be aware if you want to do sound, that you click it here first before you start the share, and that way that's already enabled. The other thing is, I love the Stream Deck. So Zoom came out with their own Stream Deck plugin, and if you are going to share a screen, it's so cool to just push the button on the Stream Deck because it's very responsive, it's very quick. So that's one thing that I like to do to start screen share and end screen share, is I have it on my other machine already just right there. So I barely even have to look down. I hate when people dilly-dally with I'm going to start a screen share, and it takes like 2 minutes for them to get started. For me, it's like 1 second. You just click, and then when you're done, you're done. So those are a couple tips.
Alex?
Yeah, if you're going to do screen sharing, you have videos. Also, in addition to what Guy had said, you want to make sure that you have optimized for video sharing so that it'll play back a better frame rate. Otherwise, it's going to optimize, giving you a nice, clean, clear, high-res image, but at a lower frame rate. So your videos won't look that good if you have it in there. Another thing to think about is the way I do it, because I've got this telestrator. I want to be able to do all the things I do with my switcher, but I can't do it if I do a screen share. So what I do is I take QuickTime and I open up QuickTime and I set it in a window, and QuickTime is looking at my switcher as a video input. Then I screen share QuickTime. So that way I have all my video editing and all my other stuff, and now you're still going to have a frame rate problem, but QuickTime will work as you just screen share the QuickTime window into it, and then if you have video production behind it, you still have all of that available to you.
And if you don't have a switcher and you don't have a separate telestrator computer, Zoom actually does an okay job with annotation if you get good at the tools. Like when you first open up this Zoom screen share annotation tools, it feels like it's a little clunky. But I was in a meeting about 2 weeks ago where I had my iPad just with a sidecar display mirroring what was on my computer. And I went into the annotate and had a Apple Pencil and was drawing on the screen share screen. And it was doing a good job of keeping up with me. And it's not looking as good as Alex's. But if I don't have any other options, I think it's really nice. You just, like Guy said, you have to get rid of the little hitches and the little pauses of, if you're not comfortable with the technology and it takes you a while to get to a screen share, or it takes you a while to figure out how to do the pen thing with the annotation, well, the feeling is like that's now a distraction, and you've lost all the momentum of the feeling that you're trying to build in whatever you're trying to communicate. So get comfortable with the tools and acknowledge what your limitations are and what you have, but just know that there's a lot for you to play with here. You're kind of spoiled for choice. Next question.
This one's from Guy Cochran in Seattle, USA, and on the panel today. Created a powerful Google Cloud instance with Zoom and vMix to answer Andy K's question. Here's the step-by-step. What new questions do you have about cloud after scrubbing through this video? With a YouTube link.
Step by step. Guy, what do you got?
Yeah, this was kind of interesting because I'm so used to the AWS world, and when they had some scares of not having enough GPU instances and people that had to do shows that day weren't able to fire up enough instances to complete their show. So I jumped over to Google Cloud. This was like in 2021 or something like that, and I created an environment. And then we had Andy K's question last week, and I wasn't sure what those VMIs were called, what they're called VMIs. So, but the key to the operation was this, where you go in and you search the marketplace. So that's what you got to do. And in that video that's linked, this 16 or so minute video, it just walks you through the whole thing. So if anybody has any questions about this build, it's kind of cool to see how it goes from picking the right instance type and how much memory. And then at the end, I actually showed what it looks like to use that exact instance with vMix fully loaded, streaming to YouTube in 4K. And we could see that it only uses 1 GPU. So in this instance, I had tried 2. And there was just a couple learnings that I figured out along the way. So that's a helpful video. I wanted to share that with the community. And there was another question on Sunday from Henry Ramos about the pricing difference. And they're very similar. 32 gig machine versus a 64 gig machine. They're right around $1.50, $2 an hour, depending on the licensing and whatnot. So they're very similar in cost. And then the other thing that I learned is that you want to build sideways instead of building up. Like I went ahead and went with this really powerful machine with 96 gigs of RAM, but vMix only uses so much. So it's better to offload processes sideways. So you can send, let's say, the video signal over to another machine to do the encoding. So if you're overloading a machine, the processors are only so fast on these instances. So it's no longer about the processor. It's about just offloading it to another GPU because it could only take advantage of 1 GPU. So there's a lot of things, but that video is super helpful. I'm glad that I recorded myself going through this because it was even enlightening to me to go back and look at the video, and thought it looked good because I recorded it in full resolution. So if you watch it on a 4K display, it looks pretty amazing. It looks like you're there.
So when you're building sideways like that, what's your experience been like when you're connecting those two instances to one another as far as latency, visibility, any issues seeing each other? Like, what's that whole setup process like?
It's just like having a computer here on your local network. You know, it's just Ethernet. Yeah. In fact, it's even faster than your Ethernet because it's 25 gig connection. So, the sideways is like, it's just instant, you know. So if you're tossing stuff from one to another, it's like nothing. It's butter.
That's so cool. I don't know. It's whenever I hear you talk about some of the things that you're building, I was like, gosh, that sounds like magic.
It is. I mean, it's crazy too,
cool.
because like this machine, as you watch the beginning of it, TJ in the pre-show said, "Hey, man, you spent a lot of money on that." And I'm like, I spent $4, you know, like it. But it says at the beginning, this is going to cost you $1,600 for the month. But I'm like, I'm only using it. I just built it up in 30 minutes. And then destroyed it. So I just built it and then destroyed it. So imagine going to Best Buy, buying their most expensive, powerful computer, bringing it home, installing vMix, and doing a quick 4K test to see what it looks like going to YouTube and fully loaded with 8 Zoom inputs, and then saying, all right, that's not what I need, and returning it. That's kind of what I just did, but I did it in less than 30 minutes.
Amazing. Next question.
This one's from me, Cindy Drozda in Erie, Colorado. I'm joining a meeting today on Microsoft Teams. What do I need to know? Any advice?
John?
I think if you're joining from a Mac or Windows would really help us determine what that experience would be. If you're joining from a Mac, it's definitely not great. On the Windows side, Teams can often like overwrite your settings that you have. So if you have like your volume settings, your microphone settings, sometimes it will try to overwrite it and just make it like standard to what it is. So if you can get in early, test your microphone, video is going to be fine. It's only going to be capped at 720p, depending on what they have set in their tenant settings. But I mean, if you're just joining and having a conversation with people, it's not being recorded, it's not going anywhere, should be a fairly seamless experience for you.
Alex?
Yeah, there's the challenge with Teams. I'm on it every day. Is that the Mac on the Mac side? If you're on the Mac side, it is I've had Chrome have problems with my audio, and I oftentimes when I open up the Mac app, it will give me a big white screen and not let you get to anything else. So now I haven't gone back to the Mac app for a little while, so they might have fixed it, but it was like for years it was a problem. And so they seem to not pay attention to the Mac side at all, and then the Chrome side is now broken. So it's kind of a, just get in early, maybe find someone here that's on Teams and make sure that it's working on your system before you go in, because it's a little bit of a dumpster fire.
Cindy?
I'm on a Mac, and I was looking around for video and audio settings, and I couldn't find anything to show me my video. This is before I joined the meeting.
Are you on Safari or Chrome?
Well, now that you mention it, I think I'll try Safari instead of Chrome. I was thinking
I actually
Chrome.
have more trouble with Safari than Chrome. So,
no.
So Safari doesn't give you the opportunity to, at least with Google Meet and Teams, doesn't give you the opportunity to change your mic for whatever reason, and Chrome does. And so I've used Chrome for these for quite some time. When you in your first page, you should be able, as a guest, you should be able to have a control over your video input, but I'm not 100% certain of that. I don't have another video input to choose, so it chooses the one that I have. So
I
will say,
go ahead, John.
Yeah. So, and from the Safari side, I believe you have to set in Safari which microphone you're going to present. I think it's like a security thing on the Apple side. But definitely on the Chrome side, you should be able to set whatever camera you want and whatever microphone you want. I join from my home PC all the time for work meetings, and I'm able to do that.
I join Teams meetings from the Mac desktop client just about every week. It's definitely clumsy. It's definitely not as it's not as warm, and it's not like a warm hug. Sometimes Zoom a lot of the stuff just works. And when I get to the website settings, like the ones that you see on the zoom.us, my brain starts to fry a little bit because it's very deep. But the Teams desktop settings are not always in the place that you'd expect. But the desktop client has been working well, for me at least, for the last 3 to 6 months. And if you want to, right after show, I'm happy to hop on for a second. But it may be worth downloading the FAT client if you're having issues getting what you need in the browser. I just know the only caveat I'll give is that my experience is as an M365 like business user, and Microsoft has a decidedly different experience when you go on to the consumer side. So I may have an experience that's not the one that's being taken care of. Alex?
If somehow you have any kind of Microsoft account, don't use it. Like, make sure that you're using it'll just destroy everything forever. Like it gets tied up into their permissions thing against that event and against that organization and against a bunch of other things. And so, go in as a guest. Do not use your built-in. If you have a Microsoft account, don't use it. It'll ask you to do that, and don't do that. Like it's just on.
And you're going to have to do a little bit of clicking around to not use the Microsoft.
But you want to go as a guest.
You to sign in.
And I have to admit, generally, unless it's a really I'm in like 3 or 4 Teams meetings a day. Unless it's super important, I only go into my phone. Like I won't use my desktop for Teams meetings anymore.
Next question.
This one's from John Foltz in Sealands Grove, Pennsylvania, U.S. I just tried the Ethernet adapter for Stream Deck. I found it a nice addition because I can add a Stream Deck wherever I want without tethering to a computer. Thoughts?
Guy?
Yeah, they're really cool. I have one right here. They're really nice because you could power over Ethernet. So instead of having a computer, you can just run an Ethernet cable. So if you're in a different room and you just have a monitor, so some people could cut the whole show just using a Stream Deck. So if you program your buttons correctly, you could give somebody just a multi-view and a Stream Deck. I mean, we do this through the cloud, but it's pretty interesting that you could program whatever you have, PTZ cameras, record, start, stop. You could check that time code's moving. You could see the red buttons are red instead of white if your records aren't recording. So the possibilities are pretty endless. There's so many things that are available inside of Companion. So I love it.
And it's not that the Stream Deck is plugged into the network and then it's going up to some sort of cloud service before coming down to your machine. It's just over the local network. It's still controlling the Stream Deck engine that's on a computer, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could set it up if you wanted to do cloud stuff, but for most people, they're just going to be local and they just plug it in and it just shows up inside a Companion as a device, and then all your pages are there and all your buttons are there. So yeah, depending on what you want to do, it's like our whole house here is got Ethernet in every room. So I mean, I could just walk in any room and plug in a Stream Deck and have, control of whatever devices that I want.
I've thought about this a little bit just because I've got this like Stream Deck Zilla on my desk. It's got 3 of the XLs kind of in a stack. and it's great because it lets me be very fluid in a presentation. But whenever I try to rearrange anything on my desk, it's like I've got 3 USB wires that need to go to, that they're to some sort of hub, so that there can only be one wire going back to the computer. And the thought of being able to move those out and not have to worry about chasing that cable back to the main PCs, it's pretty appealing. Alex?
Yeah, and JJ McKenna said that the PoE dock works with modules as well, so you can go ahead and install those in the walls of your house. Right, exactly. And he also says that, yes, you can assign a Stream Deck to a computer for the programming.
Very nice. Next question.
Paul Val, who's in Austin, Texas, is asking, I love all-in-one solutions. Appleworks was great, but now the producer for production. Free, unlimited, but no mention of AI. How can that be? Is it the right tool for your next job? With a link.
John.
So I visited this site before the show, and it looks like a tool that would probably be fine. It's just a way to organize productions. I will say that free means they're making money on your data. So I don't know if I would want to share my production information into a tool like that. Nobody's doing anything as a courtesy. It's just something I would really dig into and understand a little bit. And as of right now, I can't even get the website to load. So for me, that's a big concern. If I'm relying on this for production and their website can't even load, that's definitely a big problem.
Way to go, office hours. You've crashed the producer. Go ahead, Alex.
Start for free. It isn't a free product. The Maker machine for solo creators is $25 per user per month. Production is a $49 per user per month. And the custom machine is from $1,000 a month. It's costly to do it. So I guess they give you something for free. I'm not sure exactly what that is. I think that it actually looks pretty interesting and be fun to kind of play with it and try to do a smaller project with it. It does look like that what they're trying to answer is, everybody wants something that they can pay attention to everything and make it all work for I don't think that it's necessarily for a live show. I think it looks like it's for just managing overall production, that's there and trying to think through it. The hard part is that no matter how experienced someone is when they design one of these, productions are so different all the time. It's why we tend to go back to Google Sheets, is because it's every company has a different way that they want to work on it. It's very hard to get people to, they feel like they don't have what they need and they immediately jump off. The problem that you have with people who do production, especially if they've done it for many years, they have the way that they do it. And if you give them something else, they will immediately revert to just ignoring your product. So you go, hey, we've created this great, let's say, like I have Airtable. We'd be like, but let's do Airtable. And it's so much more powerful than Sheets or Excel. I mean, you just look at people who want to do it in Excel and you're like, that's absurd. I couldn't even think that way anymore. But the issue is that you build something in Airtable, and if it doesn't have everything that someone wants at their fingertips, they immediately drop back to Excel or Sheets. And then it becomes hard because now you got data going everywhere. And so that's the big challenge. But it's so you can have a superior product and people won't use it just because they don't know it. So you really have to take on heavy training. And if you own the company that's doing it, pretty much an iron fist about where the data is going.
Another thing that you'll find with all-in-one solutions is, it goes a little bit along the same lines as Alex had, but there are a lot of decisions that are being made when it's an all-in-one and it's going to do everything solution. There's a lot of compromises that are made, or very specific ways that things need to get done. And to Alex's point, as soon as you need a little bit of flexibility, now you can't atomize one part of your process. You need to relook at the whole thing, and that can be very disruptive. Public service announcement, since you said Appleworks, if you go to infinitemac.org, you can run old Macs. And if you feel like playing with Appleworks or ClarisWorks in this case, I was just working on a little wiring diagram here. You can go to the printer and go to the dot matrix here. You can do it. So infinitemac.org if you want to play with some of the old tools. Photoshop 1, Photoshop 3, they're there. I don't know how you get them out. I've got this great wiring diagram and I'm toast. Next question.
Coming to us through the QR code, Christopher B. in Hoboken, New Jersey asks, how is Apple filming live Apple Immersive Lakers games? Is there a live 2110 Blackmagic Cine Immersive not produced for consumers?
Alex?
So I don't know how they're doing it. I didn't know that they were doing it live, and maybe I just missed that part of the thing. I think they were recording them all. I didn't know if they were doing them live. You could do live right now immersively from the Blackmagic camera without any 2110. Now they may be doing something else that I don't know about. But what I can tell you is that there's two SDI outputs, and you can do left eye and right eye out of the SDI outputs. It's only going to be 4K, but it would be 4K 60. But what it would do is you'd have the two eyes, and then what you can do is use something like Touch Designer to build the 3D experience from there. So you could take the clean SDI outputs from each eye out of the two SDI 1A and B, and then recompose it in Touch Designer to give you a live output from the camera. So that is a doable thing that we know is possible right now, but I don't know if that's what they're doing or not.
Next question.
Here's one from Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. Smallrig has a pre-built Pro Vlogger kit. How does it compare to a kit you would build yourself? With a link.
Alex?
Yeah, here's the blogger. Hold on, I gotta pop up. I just love pop-ups. It's so great. Anyway, so here's this all-in-one. So you've got a little tripod here. The main thing is I don't know when I would ever use this. Like I don't really put things on tables there. So that would be one thing. These actually work pretty well. They come with a lot of the kits, so I have a lot of them laying around. No, they're pretty good. I don't know. You can use them as handles here. The main thing here is you'll grab one of these, but oftentimes that one wants to be custom. What drive are you going to fit in there? So I don't know if I'd want one to. I don't know if I want to buy an all-in-one kit. The biggest problem that I have oftentimes is that this center piece, I have one of the more generalized ones. I think I have it maybe not quite in reach. Oh, yeah, it is. So here's, I have it in pieces here. I'll show you. This is the, sorry. This is a, plug this. Give me 1 second here. Sorry about that. It's tethered to a Pro Dock, and
what they're trying to do with this one is this is the newer. This is the one that they've pictured there from Smallrig. This is our new universal. So what's going on here is you've got this bar that has the spring clamp to it, so that you can hook it into any phone. But they're also making it so that if you take that spring clamp out, you could replace that. If you just took that out now, it's only using MagSafe. So if you're trying to get in and out, it's a little easier. But the other thing that I'm happy that they've done is that everybody that's making these clamps now is doing a good job of making them be angled at the top so that they're not pressing your camera buttons. But it looks like Alex got his up now.
Well, that's the problem with this one here. So I've got a couple of these, and this one's got the little clamp that is too big for the hard drives that I'm using. I'm using these Crucials, and it doesn't hang on to it. So I had to print something for the Crucials to make that work. And then this one has CJ has the Pro Dock that's mounted on below it. This is an ambient time code and sync generator that I'm kind of playing with here. But the problem, as CJ said, is that the problem I have with these is they're pushing the buttons. Now, the way I fixed it is that I printed this for the phone, and this is so this is done out of TPU, and what it does is it protects the buttons. So when I throw the phone into this, I can clamp it into here, and then the buttons are protected from any rig that I have. And I built it for the 3D rig that we're working on, but it turns out it's useful for anything I have to clamp down on. I actually have become not a big fan of all the buttons because of the clamps. But that's one of the things that, dealing with buttons has turned out to be a big deal when it comes to that. And CJ, you said it comes at an angle so that it doesn't.
Yeah. So right now, if you look at the Smallrig one, and I've seen one other one like this, now instead of being flat at a 90 at the top, it is angled forward so that it actually is in front of the screen a little bit, but that little bit of separation seems to fix that. And then the other thing that they're doing is like with this one, now if you take that out, it's MagSafe. Now you got to make sure you're level and it's not as secure, so it's not going to work for every situation. But if you're trying to move quickly, that's nice. Next question.
This one's from Danny Grizzle in Longview, Texas. From a programming and architecture aspect, how has AI become so pervasive and so powerful so fast in software development?
Guy.
Because it's freaking awesome. I mean, it just blows my mind what you can do with AI. The stuff that my friend Chirig, which congrats to Chirig, he just won American Heart Association's $10,000 #1 prize for an employee that can develop something with AI. And so he's the one who taught me some of the things that I've been playing with here in Claude Code. This is what Claude Code looks like running on through Termius. Termius is a little app that I use to be able to access this PC that I turned into a Ubuntu machine that just runs Claude Code. That's all it does. The benefit is that I could store stuff locally. So one of the problems that it solved for me was I had a 4.3 gigabyte SQL file, and I didn't know how to use SQL at all. But I put that file on there, and I made a front end just by talking to it in natural language. So it's crazy to me how it just can build things, and you can open up ports and look at things, and then you could share those ports. So I'm using a combination of Coolify, Cloudflare tunnels to protect it. And then the other one is there's a database app that I use that starts with a S that I'm forgetting. There's it allows you to do like logins and protect those logins and have the database. The other thing is I watched Jason Fried from Rework, who did Basecamp and 37 Signals, and he's a real developer, and he was talking about how he spends just so much time to refine his code just to get everything perfect. And I'm like, man, I just create vibe code slop, they call it. And so I'm in some of these vibe coding groups, and there's a lot that we don't know as vibe coders that when we come into this world, that people who know how to do this stuff and set it up properly. So we create a lot of just riffraff that slows things down. So it's powerful, but it's also like, if you're used to things that just work and know and rely on people to be able to fix them, if you vibe coded it, man, it's kind of like you can ask it to fix itself, but sometimes it's just not as efficient as it possibly could be. So there's pros and cons to both sides. But watching some of the Salesforce demos and Microsoft's Ignite, the stuff that they're doing with AI and agents and being able to protect things and have agents talk to other agents and do tasks, it's blowing my mind. So the future, it's going to be interesting. It's definitely changing.
John.
So I think what you have to understand is a lot of what we consider to be AI now has been around for a long time. And so companies have been building this. It started with data warehouses and then moving into data lakes and then moving into all the ML operations that are happening. And then it's like once you have that clean data and you have a lot of it, soon as Gen AI dropped, you're able to then leverage all that work you've done, and then quickly you leverage all this data you have to then output things for your customers, whatever those quick hit things are, you're able to get those out the door. And then as soon as MCP was developed, so a way for LLMs to interact with websites, once you had that language that both could talk, then everything else started flying through. We were early into some of the AI stuff before MCP even happened. So we were trying to figure out how we're going to get our LLMs to talk with our client websites that we're having. And now that's there, we're able to move so much faster and getting our apps integrated with our custom LLM that we've developed. So it really just comes from managing data really well over a long period of time. And then you're able to leverage that data using any new systems that kind of come out from it.
Alex.
Yeah, I think that really we keep coming back to if you have things you're trying to get done, AI becomes something, and you know what you want. AI becomes something that is incredibly powerful because it just becomes your hands and fingers to do those things. If you're someone who doesn't know what you want to do, but you're very good at doing things, that's more problematic. Because you're the one that was doing those things for the people who needed to get something done. So it's really important for you to be thinking about how do you become useful in the idea world, because the idea world has probably become the most important one, so of having ideas of what you want to create. For instance, we've talked about in the past, we have a situation where we have to manage about 400 Teranex SDI to HDMI converters. They don't have a API. So we Wiresharked, watching the app talk to the hardware. And then once we figured that out, vibe coded a system that checks them every 6 hours, checks what their settings are, checks where they are, and gives us alerts if we don't see them, and lets us see what their stability is over time. I asked Kevin, Kevin created it, and I asked how long it would take for him to write the code, and he's like, never. I don't know how to do that. He's like, he knows, but what he knows is he logically knows exactly what he wants, and he logically knows how to produce it. Like, he knows what the logic is. So the logic is always still important of how is this app going to approach this. So that thinking process is super important. The actual typing the words is become less important because LLMs are really good at language, and programming is all language. So they do that well, but they don't replace the need for understanding the logic of how something has to work.
And if you do develop an application, like we did at our office, we developed a front end to our SQL database so that we could have interaction between two programs, between a program that we made up and the kind of the mothership. And we came up with the idea in an afternoon, like 2 hours on a Sunday going back with ChatGPT. But that was like to write the spec. It was, like Alex said, knowing what you're looking for. So it's like, I'm trying to do this. You're an expert programmer, and I gave it 3 or 4 roles. I'm trying to write an app that's going to do this. Help me write a spec so that I can have something, so that I can use a tool to help me come up with code for this. To start, why don't you ask me 25 questions that'll help you get more context about what I'm really looking for. So I kind of forced the LLM into a discovery state where it was asking me a bunch of questions. When I left with that spec, I gave it to 2 people on my team who then, over the course of about 3 weeks, built what I was asking for and more, because they got a bunch of ideas when they were doing it. Now, these are non-programmers as well, but they understood the business logic and they understood what we were trying to accomplish. After about a week and a half, though, we went from let's generate the proof of concept and the stick figure drawing of wireframing of what works, and then actually making sure that, okay, what do my data controls look like? What happens when there are conflicts? What are the redundancies? Eliminate whatever spaghetti code is in there that maybe is written a little, and that takes you have to put your brain in a different mindset. So the more complex that what you're writing gets and the more things that it interacts with, the more you're going to have to really be thoughtful about how are you structuring it. And that's where it helps to have someone who has a little bit of programming background to help kind of edit your proof of concept as the idea person. Guy?
Yeah, I just wanted to show this now that I loaded it up. So this, I didn't draw these graphics or anything. It just made this whole front end for this database. So this is that 4.3 gigabyte database file. So I just asked it like, hey, I want to be able to search up customers. I want to sort by sales rep, who is a top performer. It's crazy. Top customers, different analytics. It's crazy that this was all built by AI, and it's a tool that I'm now able to use. And I don't have to pay for the service that I used to pay, which was $8,000 a month. So basically, I exported the data out of NetSuite, and now this is I'm running essentially NetSuite and all the things that I'm used to, except for P&L and some of the things I couldn't get it to work. I spent a couple days trying to get it to do basically what a QuickBooks would do. That's still a work in progress because the amount of data I have. So imagine a 4.3 gigabyte file of just text. It's just text. So this is like a massive database. There's no graphics in there. It's 4.3 gigabytes of text, and it's just running locally on a $400 computer I bought off Amazon. And I'm able to use this Claude code to develop any ask that I want. Anything, sort by year, sort by month, sort by product, sort by customers in this state. So it actually tells me who spent the most money in what state at what year or what month. It's pretty crazy how granular you could get once you have data and you have a need.
And I saw in the chat that you had mentioned that Supabase was one that you couldn't think of. That's funny. I should have thought of that too, because it was a combination of Cursor and Supabase that we used to develop what we were doing. And a couple other folks said that in the chat that they have a great AI. Caleb Groom in the chat says they have a great AI agent for writing SQL and interface, but you have to allow it to see your data, so that's a consideration. Thank you for that, and thanks everybody in the chat. If you're not in the chat and you're just watching on YouTube, you're really missing half the show. And so if you go to officehours.global/join, you can get on our email list to get into our Discord, get into Makana, and that's really where the magic happens. Every morning we're here 7 a.m., and you can not just ask questions in Makana, but you can also vote on the questions to make sure we're spending time on the right stuff. And you get to participate in the awesome chat and get to know the members of this community. And that's really what makes office hours great is the people that are here. And the panel, we love the people that come on the panel. There's as much knowledge, if not more, that's there every day in the chat. So it's good to be in a little bit of both. Go to officehours.global/join. Sign up there. Next question.
Caleb Groom in Pinehurst, North Carolina asks the panel, Alex has said that he wants interfaces for shows instead of buttons. That was demoed in office hours for Mimo recently. Does the panel have any experience using UTC for vMix to run a show?
Alex.
I don't know if we do. There's a lot of things that you can do to build front end. So Touch OSC and many other things that you can build. I think that what I talk about a lot with Mimo is the fact that it's built into the app, and it makes it a lot easier to just kind of very quickly throw something together without a lot of tech, of trying to figure out how to tie what's going in and out. I don't know how seamless UTC is, in vMix. I don't think there's anybody here that's doing that. But I do think that being able to relatively easily build interfaces, it would be a huge product for somebody. And the one that I think is the missing puzzle, and I think that probably only Adam Tal could probably do it at the moment, is building that type of interface. Oliver and Adam would be the two people that could do this. Is building the type of interface that we have for Mimo for ATEM switchers. And I think that's there's a million of those switchers in the wild, and a lot of people that would love to be able to get designs of how to do a show where they only had to open up their iPad and tie it in. And again, it can be designed in other things. It's just that there's a lot more linkages, and those linkages, it's not that it's impossible, but it cuts down the use by 99%. And so that's the real challenge.
Guy?
Yeah, and a show that I was working on that was all cloud-based, we just handed the operators, the TDs, a Stream Deck 32 companion config and then the VPN access. And the whole show, they never touched vMix, even though vMix was the back end. They just had a Stream Deck. It's pretty amazing what you could do as far as build a show once you know the run of show. So we would rehearse the show before every show, and we would run through and make sure all the buttons work, that there was no gotchas. But it's pretty amazing when you hand that file off to somebody who's in another state and their Stream Deck turns into, hey, load this playlist at this time. So Q22 is going to be this play out, and it just appears, it's just next. So we have this ping pong thing where we have basically like two decks, play out A and play out B, and it could bounce back and forth between the two. So when you load it up, it loads into preview. You see preview inside of the multi-view, and then you hit cut, and it cuts. You have the graphics. So when I look at UTC, I'm not using that. Maybe that's something that Chris Sabato, if you ask this question when he's on, I know he does a lot of sports, and that's what this software does. It pulls data in from different places like Google Docs, and then you can extract it, build a graphic, and change player stats or scores or things like that. The other thing that you might want to look at is Universe, which is what we use on this show. I'm looking at right now. I wish I could cut to this graphic that shows exactly what I'm talking about, but it has names on it, so I can't, and they're political names, so I can't cut to it. But it's a 27-inch touchscreen that you can get on Amazon for like $400. 27-inch touchscreen. So one of the members in the community is bragging about how he's using that to cut this show, and it's got roll credits, different cameras, mute the house sound, merge. So there's all these buttons, but he's got imagine a 27-inch Stream Deck. It's pretty cool. So you could just hang back and just be like, boop. It's pretty cool stuff.
And Chris did mention in the chat that he's tried UTC, but he's found it pretty clunky. So his first impressions weren't great. Go ahead, Alex.
And that's the real challenge, is things have to be really smooth or people just stop using them pretty quickly. I mean, there's some people that are willing to work through it, but a lot of times developers don't realize that a little sharp edge will keep everybody, like a huge chunk of people, they're usually giving up a lot, in that area. I have 4 Stream Decks here of different sizes. And so I use the Stream Decks heavily. I don't think that they are the same as having a touch interface that I can design what calls to me next. That's the issue, is that I want to be able to have things, I want the buttons to be the size and color that I want. And I also will say that I have more confidence in an iPad's interface when I touch it than I do in a Stream Deck. So I, for whatever reason, I find tapping on that screen, Stream Decks, I still get every once in a while double taps or no tap, and I don't have that experience on an iPad. I'm not talking about a touch. I think I probably would have that experience on a touch screen because they don't spend billions of dollars making the interface work.
John?
I would also consider like universe control. It's what we use to build custom interfaces for office hours. You can definitely do what Alex is talking about. Any size button, any color that you want, any kind of look and feel allows you to. There are some direct integrations with vMix, but you can also make your own custom API calls. So it's a really powerful tool if you kind of want to get in and start developing your own interface. And you're not locked into just what you control with vMix. It can start controlling a lot of other things that are ancillary to your production as well.
If you have more questions for us, you can ask them 24/7 at askofficehours.global. That's askofficehours.global, and it's open for you. Nothing to log into, nothing to sign up for. So if you got a question right now, you can stop, go to askofficehours.global, put in your name, put in your question, and then we'll get it in starting on the shows on Monday. Next question.
Paul Val, who's in Austin, Texas, is back with us. You're a digital nomad in Thailand, and you have to choose a cloud-based editing platform from these, but which one? Canva, Adobe Express, WeVideo, Atomos Edit, Blackbird, or something else?
Alex.
If I was a digital nomad by myself in Thailand, I would not use any of these. The bandwidth, I don't think, would be enough in most places. There are people who have great bandwidth there. I think JB Wendell's there, and I think he's got some great bandwidth. But if you're just floating around at hotels and hostels and everything, if you're not living there and don't have an established setup, I would not try to do anything in the cloud in Thailand based on now I've only been in Thailand for a couple of days, but I don't think I had any bandwidth while I was there, any effective bandwidth there. And even in Cambodia, where I did spend a month, it was hit and miss. So I think as a digital nomad, I probably wouldn't get into any of those.
John?
I agree. If you have a laptop or an iPad with you, why wouldn't you use Resolve? Why wouldn't you use the built-in tools? I just don't understand where we would go to the cloud and how that would be a better experience than editing. And then if you want to slowly drip up to the cloud afterwards to share it out, or have, if you have to have your editors or whoever work with you. But I just don't understand why would you do this, I guess is the question more than anything for me, Paul.
Guy?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you think the power of the cloud and being in a country where you don't want to carry around an $8,000 fully maxed out MacBook Pro that's got an 8 terabyte drive in it, 128 gigs of RAM, just because you want to be able to have all the footage and the fastest thing. As I was building that Google Cloud instance, I had a Premiere project that I was working on as well. And I was like, oh, I wonder if it could handle this dual GPU thing. But man, putting a copy of Adobe Premiere in the cloud on a powerful machine like that is just, it's crazy to think about, because you would have your remote person either be able to upload the footage for you and then you just pick it up. So it depends on what kind of projects you're working on. Where is the footage emanating from? Because where it's going to, if it's just going to YouTube, you're in heaven, because you get 3,000 megabits per second on your upload. So that's the beauty of the cloud, is you could walk around with a $100 laptop around Thailand now and not worry if it gets stolen. Who cares? Because you're controlling an instance in the cloud. So I like the idea of using something like even a lower end instance to just keep all the stuff up there, or remote into somebody else's machine that you can just own. There's also Mac Stadium would be another place if you're used to using a Mac, because that's all you could eat ingress and egress. So you could have people uploading and remoting into that for you and prepping any files. I own Adobe Express, and it's very limited compared to what I'm used to with some of the other tools like Resolve. So you quickly outgrow it. So I would say stay away from Adobe Express. I love Premiere if I'm on and I love Resolve, but if I'm on the Mac, I do like Final Cut.
Yeah, and it is all dependent on what you have access to. If you know you have access to bandwidth, it's not that there's not bandwidth in Thailand or in Malaysia or in Cambodia or in other countries. There is bandwidth there, but it's just not available to most people who are just wandering around. Now, Mickey says that in Manila, he's uploading DCP packages on the hotel lobby Wi-Fi. That's awesome. So we could use more of that a little bit everywhere. Go ahead, Guy.
Yeah, I'm tempted. I don't own it yet, but I'm tempted to get one of these Starlink minis because the prices come down so much just for these kind of occasions where I am somewhere where the cellular is not working very well. It's just that monthly commitment gets me because I do want unlimited. But even in Thailand, you would be able to get 200 megabits down and then like 20 up. So I mean, when you say limited, it becomes a throw money at the problem, because even if you are in a not so great place, and I don't know what the tree situation is, but that's about the only thing that's going to block you with Starlink.
Alex?
And again, in most of these countries, just to be clear, I'm talking about floating around in Thailand and Cambodia, which I did, and it was hard. I just kind of gave up on uploading things, and I'm pretty good at finding places to connect. But once I knew somebody who lived in this case in Cambodia, their connection was amazing. Like it was at least a gig, up and down. So if you are living there and you get fiber brought to your house, the bandwidth in Asia is amazing. If I have not, and Mickey said that he's done it at a hotel, probably a pretty nice hotel, I guess, because at least in the hotels that I've been in different parts, my connection speed was not usable. Like not usable for large files, definitely usable for email.
And if all the bandwidth stuff is stressing you out, stop into somewhere in Chiang Mai and get some good food that you can't get anywhere else and that doesn't taste like that anywhere else in the world, and just enjoy Thailand a little bit. It's not all about capturing it. Next question.
Next up is Tommy Johnson, St. Paul, Minnesota. How does one set up a TV for streaming at home that doesn't allow data, mics, and such to be sent out?
Alex?
Connect it to an Apple TV. Like, do not, under any circumstances, connect your TV to the internet. You are crazy. Like I don't know how to, there are our intelligence agencies and other intelligence agencies can turn your speakers into microphones. Be clear, that is a well-known thing. And that's just the intelligence agencies, not including the ad agencies and everybody else. Do not, under any circumstances, connect your TV to the internet. There are other ways to do that, whether it's an Apple TV or it's a Google Chromecast or whatever you want to use. But don't do it. Like that's the way to fix it.
One of the pretty slick things you can do with an Apple TV as well is that you can actually install the Tailscale app onto the Apple TV and have it connect to your Tailnet via a VPN. So that way, if you have some more aggressive sorts of blocking and filtering that you want to do at the DNS level, you could use a combination of tools that are out there that allow you to make your own custom DNS, like a Next DNS or something like that. Put that onto your Tailnet. And now when the Apple TV connects to the Tailnet, it's going through those filters regardless of where it's connecting. So, and what I love about, and this maybe isn't the most, people can do this a lot better than me, but what I love about the Tailnet solution, or Tailscale rather, is that I can hit sign in with Apple. And so if I'm logged into my iCloud on that device, then everything just connects and it makes it super easy to set up on all my machines. And I feel like I have access everywhere.
I have to say, I've owned Apple TVs since the first one, and the only way my family doesn't even know how to do anything other than just open up the Apple TV runs the TVs, and anywhere I go, whether I have a travel Apple TV, these are all old ones. I buy the new ones. The old ones kind of filter in. My gym has one. My house, this has one. I have one here. And what happens is I turn them on, just install all the apps that I had before, sign in, and boom, I have everything I needed everywhere I go. When I go to hotel rooms, I just plug the Apple TV in to make that work. I use my headset now more than that in hotel rooms, but for a long time I was taking an Apple TV there. If I needed to take it somewhere and have a quick way to do presentations, it was the glue that I had there. It is far, as someone who streams to hardware, it is like 5 to 10 times more powerful than everything else. And where you see that is the quality of the streams and everything else, or everything. It's so much easier for us to stream high quality to Apple TV than anything else. And so I think that it's also just it's not that expensive to have something that just works.
And one more public service announcement: if you're buying an Apple TV, buy the one that's just a little bit more expensive, 128 gigs instead of 64, not because you need the storage, but because that's the one that comes with an Ethernet port, and hardwiring is your friend. Next question.
Henry Ramos in Yonkers, New York asks, Just a thought. DJI Osmo 3 can do rtmp, I understand, but could I use it as a USB webcam into a phone and stream with vMix Call or SRT?
Guy?
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my mind around how I would do this for sure. But for one, we've done this with the Osmo 3. You get this device first, which is the Osbot, which converts UVC to HDMI. So now you have HDMI, and how we've done it is we plug that into a live view, and now we've got an Osmo that's on a live view. So you could do that for sure. Now, the next part where it gets interesting is if you want to bring it into a phone, then you take the HDMI, and you got this other adapter, which is called a Axune CMO. So you would take... Now you're building something kind of crazy, but you've got this device plugged into this device, and now the app is called Camerify, and Camerify is an app that sees the Axune, so it sees any HDMI input, and it allows you to stream it SRT. So that would be the way to do it. One way.
Alex?
I don't know if there's another way.
Yeah, Mickey said, I assume you were talking about the Osmo Pocket 3. If so, yes, it works as UVC device with UVC camera control. The one thing I will say about RTMP is that just because something can do RTMP is a protocol and it still has to be compressed, and just because something can do 1080p doesn't mean it does it well. So everyone goes, "Oh, well, it streams now," but how? Like, what is it doing? How is it managing all of that? All of the settings and all the controls and the quality. Before the end of the year, I'm going to run some tests for people across a couple different encoders just so we can quantify that a little bit. Anyway, so hopefully we'll do more of that next year.
And the other thing you need to make sure, Henry, is that the phone that you're plugging into supports a UVC external camera. I know the iPads do, but I don't believe that at least for the Apple side of things, the iPhones do as of just yet. If you're finding Office Hours valuable, there are a couple ways you can help. You can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can go to officehours.global/volunteer if you want to find out how you can help about the show. And we've got officehours.global/donate. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit. So if you'd like to make a donation, you can go to officehours.global/donate to do that. Now, we do have one more thing. The t-shirts are back. If you go to ohgshop.com, just a reminder, you can get we brought back by popular demand the t-shirts that we came out earlier this year. I know that I was excited because I decided that it was smart to cook in mine, and I got a stain on it. So I decided I'd just get 2 more, and it's going to be okay.
I have to admit, I'm getting a couple more because I've been so careful with mine. It's like, when do I wear it? I always wear it under another shirt, and I always have but it is, they're great shirts, so I'm definitely getting a couple more.
Here's the under the shirt thing. Like, so if you've got a quarter zip or a zip up hoodie, you've got this there's this Iron Man kind of thing going on in the chest here, and it's kind of
it's all Nick Justishin's fault. Like he did some 3D simulation, and I had never thought of putting the logo in the center, and then when he put it in, I was like, oh, I kind of like that. so it's anyway, but I would highly recommend it.
I was at the grocery store and somebody's like, "Hey, what's that?" I'm like, "What's that?" Because it was like half zipped here, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah. Let me tell you.
Do you do video production?"
Yeah, exactly.
Next question.
This one's from Alex Lindsay in Novato, California, and on today's panel. I have an update on Office Hours shows starting next week.
Go ahead, Alex.
So we have a format change, and I realized we've been talking about it on Sundays, and we've been talking about it in lots of meetings, and I realized there hasn't been a recorded show that we talked about it. So we wanted to make sure that people knew that we're going to change the format next week and run so we're going to be having still a show every day, but we're going to some of them will be in the evening, some of them will be in the morning. So if you come here on Monday, we're probably going to have something looping saying, "Hey, go to the evening show," and so you'll have extra hours in the evening on Mondays. You'll have the Q&A or the specials on Tuesday. Wednesday will still be an audio day, so that'll be a very focused audio day. Thursdays is David Paskin's The Rundown, and that'll be in the evening. And then Fridays will be a general Q&A. And then Saturday and Sunday will still be Q&A, same thing it's done before. So we're still doing 7 days a week, but we're not going to be doing it every day in the morning. Our goal is to really focus the energy of what we're doing here on those, especially in general Q&A. The idea is to have some different flavor that's in the evenings, and we think the evenings will do better this way. But we also want to focus the energy of what we're doing so that we have more panelists, more questions, all of those things into the morning show, into the morning days that we have there. So definitely jump on. It's really going to be, if the producers and the panelists step up, it's going to be a great format. I'm really excited about it. And so Wednesday again will be an audio heavy day, and then Friday will be a general day, and we're reaching out to panelists to see if we can really fill it out. So that the goal is to have a little bit of everything on Fridays, and so stay tuned for that. And again, we'll be transitioning next week, so next Monday. So if you come here next Monday in the morning, we'll tell you to come here in the evening.
And if you come here next Friday, hope we're really busy. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next question.
Sigfinn Anderson in Buda is asking, I have found you can use a second PC to log into a Zoom meeting a second time with the same account to bring another source into the meeting. Can you do this independently or indefinitely? And is there other ways than multiple instances of PC Macs to do this?
John.
If you have a Zoom room, you can definitely bring in multiple video sources at the same time. I believe maybe up to four. Okay, thank you. It should also be noted that this is for paid accounts. On your free account, you're limited to sign into one device at a time. It will kick you out. So be careful with that. You can also run multiple instances of Zoom. I think I've successfully done 2 to 3 on one machine, but it definitely gets a little wonky. So be careful with that. Where you can just have a bunch of free accounts, just create Gmail addresses and spin up a bunch of Zoom instances, and you're able to run that. But Zoom Rooms is probably the best way to do that. It's supported. It's also going to get you 1080p video, which is great. And it's really, really flexible. You got NDI, SDI, all that's going to be handled there. So have fun. It's definitely a great way to use one machine to bring in many sources into a meeting.
Yeah, Andy helped me out with this for an event that I'm doing, and what we did is we got a Zoom Rooms license and then made one Mac Mini like the Zoom Room computer. So now when that Mac Mini joins a room, you can have, like John said, 4 cameras plugged into it, and each one of those 4 cameras shows up as an individual source. So if you are plugged into a software switcher, like an eCam, for example, an eCam joins the meeting that has the Zoom Room in it, you see each of those individual Zoom Room cameras as an individual source, and then Zoom in the actual room, Zoom is handling the sync and Zoom is handling the mix minuses, and that's super handy, very powerful tools. So cool stuff there. Next question.
Here's a question from Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana. Our industry is at a critical crossroads, impacted by the challenges and opportunities that technology itself represents. Leon Silverman, HPA Tech Retreat Planning Committee Chair. What crossroads do you see in media?
Alex.
Well, I think that we're going to see a lot of changes in media over the next little bit. I don't know exactly what will happen, but we have some guesses. Number one is we're probably near the end of the shakeup of streaming. So probably over the next 2 or 3 years, you'll see a lot of consolidation. My guess is that the 4 that will win are most likely Disney, Netflix, Apple, and Amazon. Apple and Amazon don't need to make money; they can keep doing this forever. And then you have Disney's got scale. And then especially if Netflix ends up with Warner Brothers, those will be it still has scale. I think Paramount has the reason that they're pushing so hard to try to stop this merger is if the merger goes through with Netflix, Paramount's probably toast. So that's why they're viewing it as an existential. You can see that they're viewing it as an existential threat. So they're going to try to block that. If they are able to get a hold of Warner Brothers, they may be the 5th one. After that, everything will consolidate under those 5. I don't think that there's any chance for it. The other ones were too late. They're not enough. The problem really is that the industry, and we've talked about this on the show quite a few times, the industry, at least in the United States, is getting squeezed between 2 things. Apple is distorting the market because the quality and the budgets of their stuff is so high that it makes it very hard for other people to compete for creatives. And on the other side, YouTube is just chewing the market up. As creators continue to get bigger and better and cleaner, it really is hard. It's not that they are as good as broadcast. They don't need to be. That's the thing that people always make a mistake of. Well, it's not the same as TV. Well, it doesn't have to be if it's talking about the thing that you love, and it's, $8 a month or whatever for the premium. Free if you want to watch all those ads. But wow, that's so hard. So I think the industry is getting pulled between, is getting squeezed. between Apple and YouTube. And then the other, again, Netflix has the scale, Disney has the IP, Amazon is just including it with Prime. And again, Paramount's the one that might be able to survive if it can figure out how to stop the Netflix thing. I think that puts a lot of pressure on folks. People are trying to find cheaper ways to do it. I think that AI is probably not a good idea. I think AI is it's a great sugar high. I think that it's going to take a long time for it. I think you'll see it add lots of little bits and bobs, add the backgrounds, add the wide shots, add the, those kinds of things. I think that the mistake people are making is trying to make it be the core of what those are. I think using it as an set extension tool is going to be really powerful. Using it as the characters is going to be, I think, what people really think is the future and what producers feel like they want as the future. But I think that the problem that I've seen working on some films is that when the director has too much control, you end up with something a little bit more bland because it's limited to what they can think of. What makes a great movie are the actors bringing what they bring and all the individual creatives bringing what they bring. And it's the best movies are ones that are this collaboration between everybody that makes it work. And that's much more complicated than someone just going, well, I just want this shot to be this way. And this, you think you want that, but it oftentimes doesn't turn out as well. So anyway, I think that that's going to be the challenge there. I think that, again, social media is going to continue to challenge folks. Theatrical, I think, is going to move much more towards live and other events. So I think, theaters are trying to figure out how to not be dependent on theatrical releases. So I think that you're going to see a lot more push for lots of other things happening at theaters. That could be re-releases, but it also, I think, live and other things like that. So those are the things that, if I'm going to guess, those are the things I'd think about.
Let's do one more question. Go ahead, Cindy.
Here's one from Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. Aaron Kothe unboxed the Sonnet Echo 2 DV Thunderbolt 5 and Decklink 8K Pro G2 in an attempt to build a media server with an M4 Pro Mac Mini yesterday in after hours. Did anyone see it? What are these?
John.
I caught the tail end of it. Pretty cool to see how he was trying to use it. Unfortunately, it does not meet his needs. So the biggest issue is how the Sonnet is dividing up the bandwidth between the two different Thunderbolt 5 spots that they have on it. And then the other thing is that they're limiting it to PCIe 4X. So it actually can't output the full ability of the card. You're very much limited to what we could get consistently working was two 4K 6G signals. And then once you started expanding past that, you started seeing actual frame dropping happening out of ProPresenter. So it was a really cool thing for him to do, pop in and kind of unbox that and set it up from nothing. So that's what office hours and after hours is great for. So I hope that kind of stuff definitely continues. And it's good to experiment. And we got to use his budget to see what would work in the real world. So hopefully he's able to figure this out. He's trying to do some very large LED walls. And I think it's just for a PC without actual slots in it where you can take advantage of those by 16 PCIe lanes. You're really limiting yourself. So either running it inside of a Windows machine or buying yourself a Mac Pro that has those PCIe slots. That's really where you have to start looking and understanding if you really want to do large scale productions. Thus, relying on USB-C cables is definitely a limiting factor still, which is kind of crazy because of how far we've come and how much bandwidth you can really move over it. But PCIe, or I should say USB-C and Thunderbolt 5 only supporting 4X is really that limiting factor for the hardware right now. Hopefully that improves in the future. We'll see. But that's kind of where we're at today. And hopefully somebody, keeps making these investments. We figure this out.
Aaron, thank you for doing that yesterday and having us all experience our favorite kind of budget, somebody else's budget. Thank you, everybody here today, this morning. Thank you to our panel for coming in and sharing your life experience and wisdom. It's a privilege to get smarter with all of you. No one of us is as smart as all of us together, so it's what makes it so special. Thank you to the producers for asking such great questions. If you asked a QR code question and we didn't get to it, we'll start to filter those into the show again on next Friday. So unless it's an audio question, we might sneak it in on Wednesday. And then finally, thank you to our back-end crew who keeps us running every single day, keeps us organized, keeps us looking and sounding great and getting out to you. If we would have had to do this in person today for episode 2089 of Office Hours, the Tlaloc traversal would have taken us 28,000 miles. That's 44,000 kilometers, 218 million bananas for scale. We'll see you in after hours.
Just joking. Who's going to bring in all the 2110 gear now? I want to see that budget. Who's got a bunch of ducats so we can play 2110? I want to learn 2110, but I just don't want to drop 50 grand.
I have to say, I've used the Blackmagic stuff, tested it for some other stuff that we were working on. So great. Like it just, man, you're just like, oh my gosh. We had one of their routers and with a bunch of the distro, and I was like, oh, I could get really used to Ethernet. Like this is so much easier.
We're using it across our campus.
Oh man,
really? So the Blackmagic version, or different? And it's working solid.
Yeah. So we'll bring in video feed. So we just did what we call our celebration week, and so we have all these different spots all over the building. Well, we'll do these quick little 10-minute hits. We'll drop in. There's a big crowd around them. We got a camera. We got a mic, and we broadcast it to the rest of the campus so everybody